Hey everyone, welcome back. This is part 2 of this free intro overview class for our 8-week screenwriting bootcamp with Script Camp. Sorry about the crash. It would seem that our streaming program just couldn't take it anymore and just left the building. But we are back. We are giving feedback on loglines that have been posted and shared by students. These are those one-sentence expressions of their movie ideas that we are now giving responses to. So let's continue with our second one. I'm going to open up the chat here. 1 second. So next up, Josh, Cascade.
That's me.
Awesome. Can you read out your logline for us, please?
Sure. When an eager content creator working for a social media company is assigned to create a viral video of an avalanche, he and his crew are trapped in a cabin under the snow and must work together to survive.
All right, survival thriller. Comps, avalanche. Oh, you're looking for comps still?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know enough specifics that would work as comps that I could say to. Yeah, it's this meets this when I don't they don't really make these kinds of movies anymore.
Yeah, this genre was pretty big in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
I think we had like a million disaster movies in the 80s. And I guess before that too. This was pretty popular in the 60s and 70s. Cool. Let's read this back one more time. So, when an eager content creator working for a social media company is assigned to create a viral video of an avalanche, he and his crew are. It has to be a viral video?
Well, I guess it could just be video because they're trying to make viral content, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I just wonder what would a viral video of an avalanche even be? It's like
right there, you know, at the right where it is, you know.
Okay. Okay. Let me read that. So he and his crew are trapped in a cabin under the snow and must work together to survive. So I guess the only thing is the whole first half of this to me is just kind of like how many words is this to say? Some people are buried in an avalanche and need to work together to survive, right? And
yeah,
the first half is kind of like a little redundant. He's a content creator working for a social media company. Do we need to say both of those things?
Not necessarily. He's just the idea is that he is assigned this rather than he's like one of these guys that goes out and just makes the stuff happen, you know?
Okay, fair enough. But I think your inciting incident sounds like when he and his crew are trapped in a cabin under an avalanche, a blank filmmaker must. Then you would you'd be able to get to the meat of the movie a little more in the logline rather than spend so many words on the setup.
I get that. I'm just gonna bold this because I basically want that to happen within the first, act. I want that to be the catalyst, essentially, that they're stuck, and that's the whole movie is them trying to get out, you know?
Right. Okay, great. Yeah, then in that case, when he and his crew are trapped in a cabin, is your catalyst. We don't even really need to mention the video stuff, I don't think. That doesn't really affect... That comes up in the script as the rationale for why this is happening, but I don't think that's going to sell the movie more to know why he was at the cabin. So, a filmmaker and his crew. I think that's what we need to know. They're trapped in a cabin, and now what do they need to do to get out and survive? I guess we want to sort of find the emphasis of the story. Is the main challenge that he's trapped in there with his ex that hates him and that might kill him? Or is the main... you say they have to work together to survive. Is that challenging for these people to work together somehow?
Yeah, I would say I haven't really figured that out yet.
That's okay. All these questions are just there's sometimes it's like you can just say I don't know.
Yeah, well, no, I have so far I have some character descriptions written out, but I have some of them know each other, some of them don't. So there's some strangers, there's some some people that know each other. Mm-hmm. But I think for the purposes of this, maybe it's a group of strangers.
Okay. You can do a group of strangers trapped together. That's sort of like a whole subgenre. But in that case, usually there's like a mystery of some kind as to, or like it's often just more helpful. Like if we do group of strangers trapped together movie, think of Saw, right? Because Saw is sort of the quintessential group of strangers trapped together movie. Now, how do we get out of this? They're a group of strangers because part of the fun of the movie is figuring out why them. But if it's just a bunch of strangers who are in a coincidental, well, it's not really a coincidence, I guess, but they happen to be caught in a survival scenario together. Usually having predefined relationships with them beforehand is the better move, because we just aren't going to be as attached to people that you just met as you are to people that you had a pre-existing strong connection to before. So I think...
Well, so...
Go ahead.
Oh, so far I have... my protagonist, he has a friend who he brings along with him. Okay. And then they have like a pro survivalist that's been hired to kind of help them with this shoot.
Oh, great. Okay. Just do what that guy says, right?
Exactly. But that guy's a dick. That guy's like, yeah. Okay. Well, and, some conflict. Exactly. And that guy was also has a, you know, it's revealed that he was instructed to cause the avalanche.
Whoa.
So that they could create viral content.
Okay. Well, so that's sort of a development for later, I suppose. That's a good twist for...
Exactly, you know, yeah. But in terms of, like, the people that are sharing this space together, some of them know each other, and then they are dealing with this dickhead survivalist guy.
Okay. So I guess what I'm trying to get at here is we need to find the hook. We need to highlight the hook of the story. Bunch of people trapped together need to work together to survive is the description of the genre. It's not a hook for a movie. Let's think of... Have you seen The Grey?
Yeah.
What's the hook of The Grey, right? It's, when Liam Neeson's character is a grieving widower stuck with a bunch of oil drillers. After a plane crash, they're now being hunted down one by one by a pack of ravenous wolves. Do you see how that's... It's not just they need to work together to survive. It's giving us what is the specific, interesting, cool thing that we haven't seen before necessarily that they're struggling against. Or if that's not going to be the hook, if it's the hook is there's a murderer in the cabin with them. If it's going to be a mystery that's like who caused the avalanche. Maybe that's the hook, or maybe the hook is we're not one of them's crazy, or like we just need to find what the hook is. Find some way to draw us in beyond just sort of describing the genre and describing like the very broad things that we're going to do in the movie. Make sure it's something that we'd want to click on. Like it's something that we have a bunch of movies like this already, but we'd want to watch this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a little vague and a little broad, I know, but start in the second half of this. Start with the I was gonna call it the exciting incident. Can you believe that? I taught a summer camp once, and a kid called it that, and I've actually loved that ever since because it is kind of an exciting incident.
Exactly.
But start with your exciting incident, and then use the rest of your words instead of wasting words on setup that doesn't help us. Help us get drawn into the story by highlighting the threat or the situation. In a thriller, the hook is the situation. And it might be, and in horror, it's more the threat is the hook, but there can be an element to that too. Like The Grey, it's a pack of wolves, right? It's like the situation is sort of tied to the threat somehow. So help us get excited. Help us get excited for this movie by bringing that to the forefront and saying, this is how this is going to be different. This is why you should tune in.
All right.
Cool. Questions about this?
Not right now. I'll let you know if I do. I gotta think more about it. I like that, you know, my original thought on it was a content creator causes an avalanche. That was like the birth of the idea, and then how do I form that into a logline and into just a story idea? Mm-hmm. So I think maybe I'll start there, just in my head again, and see where that leads me. But I don't think I have this idea of them getting out at a certain point, and then they have to survive the elements, because not only are they stuck in a cabin under the snow, they also are in the middle of the wilderness. And you don't just get out and then we're all set. There's the Arby's right down the street, you know. Mm-hmm. So I'll think about how I can end that logline with a nice hook.
That's fine, yeah. And if you want to just frame the logline as they need to escape from the cabin, even if in the movie itself it goes a little further than that, that's okay. I would just limit the scope, because it just makes such a nice way to describe and explain the story. We might imagine they get out at a certain point and the movie's not over. Maybe there's 10-20 minutes left where they have to go that last step of the journey or something, and that's totally fine. But I think that's mostly working.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Thank you. What was that called again? Cascade. Cool. All right. Let's go back to our slide, and let's just try to, burn this into your mind as much as you can. Not to say that you always have to use this template, but more that these are the questions that you have to answer when or after inciting incident. An adjective protagonist must conflict before or in order to. Stakes are ticking clock. Okay, let's keep going, and I want to make sure to try to get to everybody that has posted so far. At least not totally a guarantee, but I will do my best. Let's go down the list. We have Monica with, were you calling this Silver Creek?
I have no idea what I'm calling it. I have a sketchbook I can post. I think I have Silver Dawn on it right now, but I don't know. Silver Dawn, Silver Creek. I'm unhappy with my titles right now. But anyway.
Fair enough. But hang on. How do I clear the formatting on this? Where's the button? Isn't there a button that does that? There it is. All right. Can you read this out?
Sure. Two misfits become lovers in a town governed by werewolves. When they are discovered, they are hunted by the pack and chased deep into hard rock mines, where they must find the silver to slay the wolves.
Nice. And this is horror, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So, where's my cursor? Why does my cursor disappear when I use OBS? I've never understood that. That's weird. Sometimes when I wiggle it very quickly, it comes back. Oh, there it is. It worked. It's kind of like when you kick a car engine and it just works. All right. So, two misfits become lovers in a town governed by werewolves when they're discovered. Why would them being is being a lover illegal? Is falling in love illegal in the werewolf town?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, this is where I kind of start stepping on myself in terms of writing a concise log line that also contains the information. Because one of them has moved to town recently, and the reason that that she is transforming into, or the reason that she has moved to town is that she is transforming into a werewolf. She was scratched and has a partial transformation every full moon, and each time it sort of increases and gets bigger and bigger, so she will, by the end of the film, probably turn into a werewolf. And so, there is a taboo then on werewolves dating regular humans. Yeah.
Oh, it's a werewolf and a human who they have like an illicit, scandalous relationship?
Yes.
That's so good, you got to include that.
Okay.
So that explains the conflict. It also suggests a lot of different visual action and kind of games for us to play in the premise. And it just speaks to, this is probably going to be a story about overcoming the wickedness of prejudice in a way, isn't it? I mean, that's what it sounds like you're hinting at.
Maybe. I mean, I was thinking that the major conflict would just be like, I had this idea that we could cure the person that's being turned into a werewolf by pouring molten silver into the wound, and that we can blast werewolves with shotguns full of raw silver that we're pulling out of the earth in this untapped silver vein that's, everyone says it doesn't exist, but we find it and get it. So, yeah, I mean, I think we can get to prejudice somewhere in there if we want to, but I'm not that interested in doing, like, a prejudice allegory here. I'm interested in just kind of doing some rad monster movie stuff.
That's okay. Yeah, the whole thing does not have to be a racial allegory or anything like that, but I'm just sort of saying that the very fact that you define what the relationships are, it allows me to imagine the arc of the movie, even if it's not exactly what it would be. So I think what you want to say is something like a budding werewolf and her forbidden human lover. Something like that.
There we
right?
go, yeah.
So frame a main character, a protagonist, a budding werewolf, or I don't know, is that what you thought? She's slowly turning into one, right? And
exactly. Yeah. And I'm thinking that it's starting at the arm. I guess this is like a visual thing, but I'm thinking like just her arm transforms in the beginning.
sounds like a Venture Brothers character. Just wolf arm every half moon, every full moon, just your arm turns into a werewolf. That's so funny. Sure. Or maybe she just grows little wolf teeth, just little teeth or something like that.
Oh yeah. I like that.
Just get spooky eyes. I'm sure. Oh, maybe it's Leah. Maybe she turns. Maybe there's you could go wolf man style, and then you go full on transformation into werewolf.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. So first you're just like a hairy person, and
Yeah.
then you grow 6 feet. Yeah. I'm actually like thinking, because there's going to be a lot of werewolves in this one. It's a whole pack. It's a whole town run by werewolves. So I was thinking that maybe we can have them in such a way that they can control their transformation. Maybe they can talk when they're in werewolf form. You know, just maybe there's more to it than just human mode and beast mode. Anyway.
Yeah, great ideas. And it sort of lets you play with the mythology, and you can make up the rules however you want. But so as far as the logline goes, something like, and my last question was, is this her home community?
No, she comes from elsewhere. Yeah, I was thinking that, and in fact, or the character is Jewish, so there is like already a prejudice narrative hiding in there.
I thought I understood. Okay, I thought I understood that this was her home. She's come back to this community of werewolves, and now I thought that a big part of this was that she had to now flee her home community with this human because this represented a kind of violation. If you have something very different in mind, that could also I'm sure that also would work, but I just have to rearrange how I thought this was working. So why did she come to this town?
Yeah, so it's well, she came to this town because the doctor is supposed to work with this particular disorder, right? Werewolfism. So she is scratched by a werewolf elsewhere in the city, and she and her family moved to this town to work with this doctor on the issue. But of course, the people in this town don't want to cure her. They want her to transform into a wolf and be, integrate among them. And then she falls for someone about town whose family was murdered by werewolves long ago and has a great big vendetta against werewolves. So there is, a kind of a taboo going on there.
Okay. Let me give you some suggestions. You don't have to use any of this, but this is let me just base this on what I thought was going on here and why I was super excited for this. I still think it's exciting, but let me just tell you something. So what I thought was happening was she has been gone from her home community, or she fled her home community for a while because she wouldn't accept the werewolf curse. But then I guess we're wondering why is she turning into a wolf now? Whatever. I guess she was bitten by a werewolf somewhere else, and she's coming back home now. And now the pack is her kind of family, or it's where she comes from, or it's her birthright, or something like that. And now the fact that she's brought a human lover into this, maybe she's just come back home to say goodbye or something like that, to say, I'm leaving, I'm never coming back. I was just under the impression she was coming back home and had ties to this community, and that's where we'd get a larger sense of betrayal from them, like they're hunting her down for more personal reasons, not just because of an illicit romance that doesn't actually threaten them at all. But if this was somebody that mattered to the community, then that romance would threaten their power structures more, which is why I assumed that. So I was thinking this would be, now we have to get away from her dad, essentially, or her grandpa, whatever, grandpappy, is the leader of this wolf pack, trying to reel her in and say, no, you've got to turn him into a wolf or kill him. Those are the only options. So that's what I thought was happening here, and you don't have to use that. I just thought that was exciting and interesting, and maybe there's something there if you just want to think on that more. I know you're still figuring out the basics of this, but in terms of just that one-sentence logline, a budding werewolf and her forbidden human lover must find a silver mine in the woods to survive the full moon, something like that, ... before the XXX. I think this could be one sentence, and it could just have a little stronger emphasis on the central hero. Anyway, hopefully that maybe gave you some ideas.
Yeah, well, and I think that maybe this is giving me the idea that so originally my whole idea is there is like a class divide for the werewolves that run the place and the humans that are sort of underneath their furry thumbs. And so, what if well, they are human wolf hybrids, so they
Oh,
can
that's right.
if I want them to.
Yeah, okay.
But so maybe when you reach a certain age, your family transforms you into a werewolf,
Yeah.
and this is just a thing that they do. So maybe it isn't even really her choice. Maybe she's excited enough to be transformed into a werewolf, to be accepted as an adult, as a woman in the community, but then all of a sudden she falls for this minor. Yeah. And that kind of, yeah, that makes a different kind of sense. Yeah, that it means that the characters are more tied to the community and tied to each other. And I think that has a stronger tension than what I was thinking.
I think, yeah, maybe one or the other of them. I just think if they're both strangers here, then it becomes difficult to invest. It's like they're really gonna, although these werewolves are gonna go to the ends of the earth to kill these people just because they dared to cross the bloodlines like that. I don't know. It just might be an area to go ahead.
The second character is not a stranger. The second character is very much from the community.
Okay.
It's just that the second character, like, her father was a head, a leader in the union when the mines were still open, and then the werewolves tried to get him to negotiate their terms, and he refused because he would, and they killed his wife and his son. So only his other child, his daughter, remains. So I thought that this was kind of, this was a story about revenge for the silver that they need to find underneath the earth, and like retroactively getting revenge for the son and the mother. I think it makes more sense coming from the other direction, because I think the more that I write, or the more I think about it, the more I would rather follow the character that's turning into a werewolf than the character that is human.
I would think so.
Anyway,
that does sound more fun. It does make it a bit. It's a little more Twilight YA-ish a little bit, I guess, to be like, this is the town where everyone turns into a werewolf when they turn 18. But it works really well, and I mean, it like you can see why it's there. And this could, I mean, it doesn't have to feel YA fantasy-ish at all. Is this set in the 1930s or 40s or something? For some reason, it just feels like
yeah. It was during the Depression, and there's a lot of background on that. I just didn't want to like go way out into the weeds, but I have been doing research on like hard rock mining towns from this time period, and there's a lot of like economic downfall, where places were big boom towns in the 19th century when silver was discovered, and then all of a sudden the veins ran out, and the machines took over, and the whole economy collapses. So it feels really right, and there's something really nice and tactile about all of that historical stuff. But I didn't want to go too deep into that, because we'll be here all day.
Yeah, that's okay. It also just kind of makes it, to me, it makes the plot of No Daughter of Mine is going to be with no non-Wolfman. It just feels a little like it feels like it fits in that world, don't you think?
Oh, definitely.
So, great stuff here, and I don't mean to actually push you any direction or the other, just some thoughts I had while reading, and maybe that will get you, thinking about what the answers to these things might be, and will help you refine this as you move forward. Thanks for sharing. Any questions on this?
Nope, I think, you've given me some fuel to push forward on. I'm, slowly working my way forward on this so that I can make an outline and make a script out of it. Thanks.
Awesome. Looking forward to seeing more. Thanks, Monica. And Monica runs our horror club Tuesdays, 6 o'clock, right? Okay.
Yes, Tuesdays, 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern, and 1 o'clock, I think, if you're in Australia.
1 p.m. the next day?
Yeah, it's okay. In the afternoon. Or at least Joe tells me it's at a very good time, actually.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Monica. Cool. Do we have one or two more? I think we have time for everybody in that case. Let's see. Who else do we have? Do we have any questions just based on anything you guys have heard so far? Anything you're curious about? Is this logline stuff making sense to you guys? I hope so. Let's do Biton next with the Lost... What is it? Horseman? The Lost Horseman.
You want me to read?
Yep, go ahead.
The Lost Horseman. When a clumsy harbinger of the apocalypse misses an attempt at Armageddon, he is forced to remain isolated from hell, exiled to the mortal plane, and learn all he can to help prepare the underworld for a more successful attempt.
All right, thank you for that. So what's the genre on this?
Well, as serious as it sounds, I kind of want to go for more silly. So I guess it's more satirical, making
like
fun of
fantasy
the
comedy?
heaven and hell stuff. It's got to be fantasy, yes.
Okay, so fantasy comedy, should we say?
Yeah, there will be serious moments.
Sure.
I can get my what is this? My sketch pad.
Mm-hmm. So comps might be something like Good Omens. This is like the very much the Terry Pratchett kind of like Neil Gaiman kind of world that we have here. I like the idea of a clumsy harbinger of the apocalypse misses an attempt at Armageddon. That's pretty funny. Can you explain what that means exactly?
Well, actually, the more I think about it, I was thinking of what would this horseman be of? We have 4, and then I was like, Fifth Horseman, in case anyone came up with one. And I found one recently.
Okay.
And I was thinking, okay, it's fear.
Oh,
Fear is a good choice. Fear is the Fifth Horseman is actually the name of a story, I think, of a Czechoslovakian story about the apocalypse story. So not apocalypse, Holocaust story. So I figured, let's name our horseman Fear. So he doesn't show up because because he's, let's just say, he's embodying fear a little too much. In other words, he himself is afraid, too afraid to go. This fear is giving him clumsiness. This fear is making him unable to do his job as a bringer of the end.
He's kind of cowardly, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not fear, he's afeared.
Okay,
He's
so in that case, maybe...
Instead of afflicting.
So in that case, I would say maybe something like cowardly would be a better description for the character than clumsy, because it's the fact that he is cowardly which causes the story to happen, right? Because if he's too scared to go, then
yes,
that's going to be the trait that he's struggling with throughout the movie. So when a cowardly...
Well, originally I was going to have to be sloth, but then I said, wait, I could have scenes with the sins as well.
Sure, that could be funny.
Then I can't have sloth be too.
I don't think sloth can be a harbinger of the apocalypse.
Exactly.
That would be the laziest. Yeah, that would just be the laziest horseman ever. So when a cowardly harbinger of the apocalypse misses an attempt at Armageddon, I think most people just won't exactly know what that means. So I think you're saying he gets stuck on Earth, right?
He gets stuck on Earth as a punishment.
Okay, so is exiled to Earth? Right?
He is exiled to the mortal plane.
Mm-hmm. So that sounds like that's your inciting incident to me. I don't know if we need to know the reason why that happens yet in the logline. Like in the script, that will be clear why that happens. But for the logline, I think we want to start this out by saying something like maybe when a harbinger of the apocalypse is exiled to Earth for his cowardice, something like that. He must what? So what are we watching him do in the movie? What's the main action of the story?
That I haven't figured out yet.
That's okay. You don't need to know right now.
Still in baby logline stage.
Sure, that's okay. You don't need to know right now, but just be thinking, what kind of stuff are we doing? So you have thought of this as a more humorous story. So as a comedy, his goal can be something a little sillier if you wanted it to be, or it might be the stakes might be a little lower, or it might be that he needs to win a cooking contest to get back to hell, or something like that. It can be whatever you want, and we'll just want to get some sense of what we're doing in the movie and what his goal is, what his tangible goal is. How do we know what his objective is? Because the objective is going to tell us when is the story done. So I would maybe think central relationship. If you're having trouble finding it, find the central relationship.
Well, he is the forgotten horseman. his central relationship is with the forgotten sin, which is vainglory.
Okay, so maybe he needs to team up with this sin or this other kind
Yes,
of
he
ghostly
and
character.
she need to team up together, although she's just way too into herself.
Okay, so he must
Because
team
that's
up
actually
with a
based on the
narcissist.
fact that there
Go ahead.
were originally 8 sins. So it's actually what you would call a genius joke.
Okay,
I didn't just make this up vainglory. I wouldn't have considered that word.
I've
But
never
they
heard
were-
that either. Yeah, that's quite a.
There were originally written 8, but it was condensed to 7
Right,
for reasons I don't remember.
because of the studio notes, probably. Just kidding.
I don't know.
So I think that the logline might look something like this: when a harbinger of the apocalypse is exiled to Earth for his cowardice, he must team up with a narcissistic demon to make his way back home. Something like that. You don't have to use exactly that, but that just is the simplicity by which you would want to express what we're doing in the movie. And maybe even if you say he must team up with a narcissistic demon to do some specific thing to get back home, or to earn the right to go back
You
home.
want to mention an attempt at the apocalypse, because that's the whole that mentioning an apocalypse and Armageddon kind of raises the stakes by themselves. No,
Well, is the apocalypse happening or is it not?
it was going to happen, and it's going to. Well, it was an attempted to happen. It's going to attempt to happen again.
And at what point? Like within the story? That's the ticking clock?
I assume so.
Okay, if
I'm not sure yet. It might wind up not playing into a second attempt at all. But it
Right.
would kind of feel weird for one. But that's the whole crux: is that you missed Apocalypse, dude. You were late again. You were late for work again.
Right, but if the fact that he's no longer part of it means that it can no longer take place, then it can't really be a ticking clock. So you don't have to have all the answers
Well, it
now.
was like, we have to go anyway. We'll have to go and try, even without fear.
Okay, it's possible. These are just challenges and questions to start thinking about. This is just week 0 now, so just start thinking of the answers here. Start thinking, what are we watching them do in the movie? What's the objective? And ticking clock / urgency, like a sense of urgency that is propelled by some plot element that says they have to complete this by this time or else this bad thing will occur. I mean, I would think if the ticking clock were the apocalypse, then that would be good for your main character. So it just should be clear to us why it would be bad. Like, if his goal was to start the apocalypse in the first place, then a ticking clock would be something that would be working against his goals. These are all questions and challenges and things to think of for next time. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, thanks for sharing this. Hopefully that's given you a direction to start thinking and maybe getting more concrete and specific with the characters' objectives and their journey. I like the uniqueness of this, though. I've never seen a movie about a apocalyptic horseman, so I like the setup, and this sounds unique, and I want to hear more about this. So looking forward to seeing you develop this over the course of the class. Thank you for sharing this. Is that the last one? Anyone else have a logline to share? We have 5 minutes. That's okay. All right, so in our chat, click on
Oh, I
that
forgot
class.
to link
Oh,
the
go
what's
ahead.
it called. Forgot to link the sketchbook.
Oh, the
that I'm
sketchbook. You can link it if you want to. Yeah, thank you for that. That's in the chat. If you guys want to take a look at that sketchbook there. You don't have to share sketchbooks today if you don't want to. We can share those next week, but you can now if you choose.
If there's no more log lines.
Sorry, one more time.
I have a question if there's no more log
Oh,
lines.
sure. What's the question?
So, if we're dabbling our toes, which my logline is, into this fantasy genre, like if I did some drawings to just, like, show who the characters are, would that, in theory, like let's say this got in front of somebody, would that help a lot more? Because my script isn't really based like on a novel, and I know that's probably, this genre is probably more like that, you know what I mean? But if you had like some artwork, do you think that would push the deal like a little bit better?
For an original feature? No, not for a feature.
Okay.
For an animated series, maybe.
Okay.
If you planned on also running that show and being like one of the key designers on an animated show, then potentially, or maybe if you wanted to do like a comic first or something like that, then it could help. But for features, no, I can't see it really factoring in. I wouldn't bother. Good question though. And you can also just do the art and share it and bring it to this. We'd love to see it, and you can use it for script camp stuff. But just in terms of like the industry, like nobody really cares about screenwriters' art. Sadly, as sad as it is.
No, of course. I was just curious because it's like this isn't really based on Lord of the Rings or something, but it, But
Right.
I mean, yeah, I guess whatever.
Yeah, they don't make original fantasy movies. It's just the sad truth. They're very expensive, and the thought is people won't go see one that they're not familiar with. I hate it too. I believe me. But yeah, for artwork and stuff, for some animated properties that might assist you more, especially if you want to actually be on the team of creatives on that side of it. But for features or for live action, art won't really help you as much unless you're just making the movie yourself. Thanks for the question there. So we have the survey back in our chat. You can scroll to that and click those blue buttons. If you're planning on enrolling, you can get instant access to all of our private chat channels for this group. There's no obligation tied to clicking on any of those, so just feel free to click the number 1 if you want to join. We're at the end of the bootcamp, we're at the end of this class session. I just want to open for questions about anything about the course that you guys would like to know. Anyone who wants to know more about this camp or any other camp, or you want to know how to sign up or anything like that. We'll just open the floor. What questions do you guys have? Excuse me. Looks like we're getting some... Oh, those are not questions. That's spam in our YouTube stream. AI dating disrupt an industry. AI dating is how you're going to disrupt the dating industry? That's the saddest thing. You want us to just date the AI? Come on. I mean, yes, I'm tempted. But I'm not clicking on your spam link, 69mega.com. I'm sorry to say.
Oh, come on. That would have been a perfect log. That would have been a perfect log line.
Yeah, there's a movie there somewhere.
Damn it. All I have to do now is horses.
Yeah, come on. All right, so any questions from anyone besides a spam bot on anything we've talked about today or anything about Script Camp or Skill Camp? Josh has no questions. Looking forward to this camp. Thank you, Josh. Looking forward to having you too. Josh was in some of our previous ones and really spent a lot of time learning the basics and making sure that he would be totally ready for this. I think this next feature will be a huge step up. Shall we look at some things that are coming up in Script Camp? We have tomorrow Novel Boot Camp, 12 to 2. I won't be there for it, but I will have some recordings for the class to watch, and Nacho will be taking that class, and also the lab tomorrow from 4 to 6. And then Sunday there is table reads 2 to 5, script swap on Tuesday, as well as horror workshop 6 o'clock. Anything else, Nacho, that we want to tell people before we go?
Yes. Comedy sketch workshop, Paul, is starting right after this. So
okay.
Let's see if you want to go ahead and start the event, Paul, and then we'll see if people can just click on the button to join.
Yeah, totally. I got you.
Do you guys want to tell people what that is?
Yeah, so basically, each week, students pitch ideas. We choose a showrunner for the day, right? And so you're pitching your ideas for really short comedy sketch, right? Maybe 2 to 3 pages, ideally pages or less. And then, so the idea that we vote on the idea, the one that wins, that's the showrunner for the day. And we brainstorm, outline, and write the whole comedy sketch. And what we found, I don't know, last week we did it, we did about half of the writing. So we went through the whole process, brainstorm, outline, and started writing. And I guess, so this class will be completing the sketch. So it's like writing together a comedy sketch. So drop by, it's a lot of fun. It's comedy, so it's fun. It's a lot of jokes and stuff. So
A lot of jokes in the comedy. Thank you, Nacho.
Yeah.
That starts right after this, so feel free to hop on. Let me just give you your assignment or your homework for next time. If you want to continue in the boot camp, get your logline ready using the feedback that you've received today, or else just what you've heard in the class, to try to write that one-sentence expression of your idea. And you need to get ready to read. There will be a lot of reading in this course, meaning one script every week. You're going to read a pro-spec script from the blacklist. You can type in !blacklist into the chat to find our full directory and have hundreds of scripts to choose from the past couple years. Your goal is to pick a script from this and to read it cover to cover, beginning to end, the entire thing, and be ready to talk about it for next class. You absolutely must be reading pro features to write pro features. Why did the blacklist not come up there when that was typed into the chat? Sorry about that. We'll have a link for you in the chat, don't worry. And we'll put that in the classroom chat right after this, so you guys will have plenty of things to read to choose from. Just work on the logline and read a script for next class. That's all for now. I'll let everybody go. And oh, there it is. There's a link, the blacklist there. Yeah, click that shared drive file, and you will get access to hundreds of scripts to choose from. Those are the ones that you should choose from. Pick one or more to read by next week and work on that logline. That's all for today, folks. We want to thank you all for coming to this free intro course, and we're looking forward to seeing more from all of you in this upcoming 8-week program. So everybody have a great night, and have an awesome week working on your logline and just those basic ideas for the story. And we'll see you next class. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and Paul will be starting up the sketch comedy workshop, so you'll be able to hop in there.
Thanks a lot.